It started with a knock. Polite, calm, 3 taps. My neighbor, Alan, stood there holding a casserole. We weren't close. Just nods in the hallway. Polite waves. We shared a wall, but not a word. That night, he looked different. Paler. His shirt untucked, damp like he'd been sweating, or maybe crying. He said, "Hi. Sorry to bother. Do you have a basement?" I blinked. "What?" Alan motioned toward the ground. "Storage. A storm shelter. Something underground." I nodded slowly. "Yeah. Old cellar. Creaky stairs. Damp floor. I never use it." He smiled too wide. "Can I borrow it?" "Just for tonight." I should have asked more questions, but he'd always been polite, quiet, a little sad maybe, but never threatening. So I said yes. That was my first mistake. Alan followed me to the back of the kitchen where a small wooden door led down. I flipped the switch. A single bulb lit the narrow, dust-coated stairs. Cobwebs, concrete, the smell of wet stone and something older, something buried. "Perfect," Alan whispered, then disappeared into the dark. I hesitated at the top step. Something about the way he moved, like he wasn't walking, just gliding. But I shut the door. The next morning, I remembered. He never came back up. I knocked on the cellar door. No answer. Opened it slowly. He was still down there, cross-legged in the middle of the floor, facing the wall. "Alan," I called. He didn't move, not asleep, not dead. Just still. I crept a few steps down. His eyes were wide open, staring at nothing. Not blinking, not breathing hard. Just existing. "It's quiet here," he whispered. I left the door open, just in case he changed his mind. But the next day? Same. And the day after that? Always there, cross-legged, facing the same spot. "It's quiet here," he kept saying. No food, no water, just stillness. I called his sister, got her number from the building notice board. When she answered, I said, "Hi, sorry, I'm your brother Alan's neighbor. He's been in my basement for 3 days now and..." She interrupted me. Her voice was calm, but heavy, like she'd had this call before. "Alan's been dead 3 years. I laughed nervously. "No, I just saw him." "We scattered his ashes at Lake Minerva," she said. "He died in 2022. My throat closed up. I stared at the cellar door. I had just spoken to him, hadn't I? That night, I left the door open again. Around 3:17 a.m., I woke to the sound of footsteps. Slow, bare, wet. They reached the top of the stairs and stopped. I lay in bed, frozen. Sheets pulled to my chin like a child hiding from monsters. Then I heard it. A whisper. "It's quiet here." Right outside my door. Then silence. I waited until morning. And when I stepped into the hallway, there were muddy footprints leading from the kitchen to my bedroom and back. The cellar door was locked from the outside with a bolt I didn't install. I tried calling the building super. 1 ring, then static, then a voice, not the supers. You said yes? I dropped the phone. I went back down. And this time, he wasn't alone. Behind Alan, rows of others. Men, women, children, all cross-legged, all facing the same blank wall. None of them moved. Some were translucent, some were too solid. I recognized one. Mrs. Kinley, my 5th grade teacher. She died in 2007, and she was humming. I slammed the door, piled furniture in front of it, called the police. They came. They searched. But when they opened the cellar, it was empty. No Alan, no crowd, just cobwebs and dust. And my old toys from college. They looked at me like I needed rest, told me to sleep, so I tried. That night, I heard a knock. Not at the door, at my 3rd floor window. Alan's face upside down, pressed against the glass, smiling. "It's quiet here," he mouthed. I left the city the next day. Didn't pack, just fled. Airbnb'd a cabin 60 miles away. Changed my number, told myself it was a breakdown, sleep deprivation. But a week later, a package arrived. No return address. Inside, a photo of my old basement. Dozens sitting cross-legged. One in the middle. Me, smiling. I dropped the photo. It burned when I touched it. I checked my reflection. I was thinner, pale, like someone had drawn me in pencil, not reality. A sketch of who I was. I went online, Reddit, 4 Forgotten forums, searched the phrase, "It's quiet here." Found it posted exactly 12 times, each from a different year. Each account now deleted. But I archived the threads. Most were ramblings, screen caps of basements, strange symbols. One had an audio file. I played it, breathing. Then a whisper, "You said yes." Then silence. Then a wet sound, like something crawling toward the mic. One post mentioned the silence room, a place beneath places, where the lost go, where the quiet is alive. I couldn't sleep. Started keeping the lights on, moved hotels. But the photo kept appearing, under pillows, in the fridge, behind the mirror, always the same. Dozens in the basement, me in the center, and now I wasn't smiling anymore. I was screaming. I rented a car, drove back to the building. Everything was normal. New tenant in my old unit. But the basement door, still there, same bolt, new lock. I knocked 3 times. It swung open. I stepped down into the dark. Alan was there, waiting. "It's quieter than ever," he said. Behind him, the others had multiplied. A woman with 3 faces, a child with no mouth, an old man with mirrors for eyes. They weren't just sitting anymore. They were swaying, slowly, in unison, like a hum was vibrating the concrete. I backed up. Alan said, "It only takes a yes." He raised a hand and pointed behind me. I turned. At the top of the stairs stood a girl, maybe 10, wearing my old hoodie. I don't have a daughter. She smiled and said, "You left me here." Then the cellar went dark. When I woke up, I was in a motel bathtub, water ice cold, fully clothed, my phone in my hand. Camera app open. The last photo taken? A selfie of me, sleeping, in the basement. I tried everything: therapy, medication, religious rituals, even moved countries. But no matter where I go, people knock 3 times. Sometimes strangers. Sometimes people I knew were dead, always with the same line. Sorry to bother. Do you have a basement? They're everywhere now. Cellars, root shelters, underground garages, places that used to be empty, now filled. And if you say yes, you're part of it. Last week a letter came. No stamp, just appeared. Inside, a page from a diary, scrawled handwriting, repeated over and over. Saying no makes it worse. Saying nothing is saying yes. Silence is the key. And now I hear it. The hum in drains, in vents, in the quiet moments between seconds. If you listen too long, you start to sway. I see Alan everywhere, at bus stops, behind crowd windows. Once, reflected in the eye of a pigeon, always smiling, always waiting. Tonight, someone knocked 3 times. I didn't answer. But when I turned around, the cellar door was open, and the girl in the hoodie was waiting at the top. This time, she held out her hand, a cassette tape in her palm, labeled in fading Sharpie, "My story." She whispered, "It's your turn to tell it."